Hey guys, it's Jack Cypher here, and today we're going to be talking about Monet from One Piece. I thought I'd keep today's video more on the lighter side of things. I'm feeling very under the weather at the moment, so if I'm looking more shabby than usual, that's why. Before we start the video, just like I have been in the last few videos, I just want to preference that these videos are now entirely non-scripted, and they're completely raw. We're in our living room at the moment. And any apologies for the audio. If this type of video isn't what you guys are after, then I completely understand. But if you want to stick along with me while we go over my thoughts on the character of Monet, then stick along and let's start getting into it. What better place to start than her origin story, with what of an origin story she has, and going into her main relationship and basically her reason for living, which is a little bit sad to say in Doflamingo. So, Monet has a sister called Sugar, as I'm sure we all know, and their little origin story was that, like a lot of the Don Quixote family, Doflamingo found them when they were in very dire need of a helping hand. It seemed like they didn't have any parents and that they were left by themselves. I believe Monet was 16 or 17 and Sugar was about 8 or 9. And I imagine they were starving, sick, all manner of horrible things. It's One Piece after all. But they were by themselves in a harsh environment, and Dofi came along and he saved them and welcomed them into his family. And because of that, like a lot of the members in the Don Quixote family, like we were saying, they become very, very loyal to Doflamingo. Monet becomes so loyal that she's more than happy, willing to die for him. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But her loyalty to Doflamingo stretches so far in the sense, in a lot of ways, she's more loyal than everyone else in the family, because Doflamingo has the faith and trust in her to send her on undercover operations. So for a lot of the time, she's not even with the Don Quixote family. She's on her own infiltrating places. We first see that in her first chronological appearance when she when she goes undercover in Dressrosa in the royal palace as a maid. So she's the maid of King Riku and Viola and Scarlet. Well, not Scarlet at this time because she would have left with Kiros. But she's the maid in the castle and she earns their trust. And when the Don Quixote pirates cause the uprising, Monet is the one that opens the castle gates, takes Viola hostage, and lets a big portion of the Don Quixote family into the castle. Now, I'm not going to go so far to say that she was the catalyst of them being able to take over the castle, because she's not. If they really wanted to, they were going to. But Monet gave them the ability to be able to do it without any bloodshed by taking the princess hostage. So she takes her hostage, and the Don Quixote, I'm sure I'm going to get that messed up a lot in this video. Oh, excuse me. The Don Quixote family take over Dressrosa. Doflamingo gets his prior birthright, and they rule for a decade, causing tyranny. At some point, I don't believe it's ever specified just how long she was there, but Doflamingo had an operation going with Kaido. And the operation was that Doflamingo would provide him Smile Devil fruits, which would then be given to Kaido so he could expand his army of Zoan fruit users. And Doflamingo was very, very reliant on this alliance, not only for his own safety, because he knows that if he fails to uphold his end of the bargain, that Kaido's going to fly his dragon ass down to Dressrosa and kill Doflamingo. It also probably provides Doflamingo with just that really cannot speak today, guys. I apologize. It provides that extra level of protection from the government and from other pirates being under Kaido's banner, because it's not too much of a secret that Doflamingo. It's the second time I've done that today. It's not too much of a surprise for everyone in the One Piece world to know that he's Joker. It's basically a secret that isn't a secret. So everyone who's in the know knows that Doflamingo and therefore the Don Quixote family is under the protection of Kaido. And to ensure that that protection lasts, he needs to make sure that Caesar is one, producing the smiles, and two, not betraying them. Because Caesar is a very twisted individual. I'll make a whole video on him one day. I'm sure that would be a lot of fun. But to provide countermeasures for the Caesar potential problem, Doflamingo sends Monet in there as an undercover agent. Now, we don't know what she does to endear herself to Caesar. Probably demonstrates how knowledgeable she is, and we'll get into that in a little bit. She probably was able to convince Caesar that she would be a very, very good source of information, a good scout for the future pirates and future threats to Caesar. So Caesar takes her on, and she stays with him. Now, like we said, we don't know how long this is. It could be a year, it could be a couple of years. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think there's ever any sort of... Like, I know there's no time frame from specifically Monet being in there, but is there any time frame on how long Doflamingo has been providing the smiles to Kaido? Because if we knew how long that was, Doflamingo has probably sent Monet there as soon as the operation started, so that would give us a base idea. But like I said, if you know that, then leave it down in the comments. Now, while Monet is on Punk Hazard with Caesar, Law ends up coming to the island to infiltrate. We all know why he's there. I'm not going to touch into that too much. But it's here where Monet... I don't know why, if it was just, her desire to look like this. No one's going to fault her for it. She still looks as hot as ever. Or if it was some sort of power play by her or show of loyalty. Who knows? But she has Law use his power to replace her arms and legs, and she replaces them with her very iconic... her very iconic wings and talons. She represents a harpy from Greek mythology, if no one knew that. And she looks pretty badass. She's probably one of the most distinctive, not just female characters, but just characters in One Piece. She has a very, very creative design. I absolutely love what Oda's done with Monet's appearance. She just completely looks like... She doesn't look like anyone else in the series, and I just reckon he's done an excellent job on her. But she gets her iconic look. She stays on the island for a while, and then Luffy comes and yada yada yada. We'll get into that a little bit later. Let's just keep going with the Doflamingo Monet section of it, because I need to be careful with how I talk about this, otherwise it's going to quickly become a Doflamingo video. And if you guys know my content, then I could sit here for 2 hours talking about Doflamingo. So, Monet has a fanatical... It is an obsession. But let's shine a positive light on it. She has a very fanatical loyalty to Doflamingo, in thanks for Doflamingo saving her. Now, this is just completely my headcanon. There's no truth in this whatsoever. I like to think a lot of it also comes from the fact that Doflamingo saved her younger sister, Sugar. I like to think that kind of made Monet just that little bit extra loyal to Doflamingo, because he hasn't just gone out of his way to save her, he's gone out of the way to save her sister, which she probably felt like she wasn't in a position of power to accomplish at where they were in their life. So that would, to me at least, my headcanon make sense to just how loyal she is to him. And we see that loyalty in her death scene. That's right, we're skipping all the way to the end real quick. And it's about how I'll get into how this happens, but she gets into a bunch of shenanigans, she gets defeated, she's wounded, and in a last-ditch effort, she by no means had to do this, it wasn't like she was going to die of her injuries. Just out of sheer loyalty to Doflamingo, she was going to unleash a self-destruct button, essentially on Punk Hazard. It would cause all the poison gas to invade the island and just kill everyone, except for Caesar, since he's like the gas man. So it was the perfect kind of power play move to use. And she's at the self-destruct button and she calls the young master, she calls Doflamingo. Um, and Doflamingo's talking about how he thanks her for her loyalty. He thanks her for all her times of service, and he asks her, like, he doesn't beat around the bush type of thing. He just asks her if she will go to this room that she's already in and push the self-destruct button and destroy the island. And Monet is already there. She's literally got her feather on the button, and she tells Doflamingo this. So, Dof, I do reckon in that scene, Doflamingo's respect for her increased. Just to see the sheer dedication of not needing to be asked, not needing to be ordered to do something. She's used her initiative and realized what the because despite what we think about it, that's how she's decided to live her life in service of Doflamingo, and in service of her master. She's hoping to fulfill his wishes, and she knows what they are without him even needing to ask them. It just, to me at least, goes to show a closeness to their relationship. Now, I'm not saying there was any romantic feelings there. There probably wasn't her part, but just in general, it shows a closeness that some of the other members of the family might not have had. They're all incredibly loyal to Doflamingo, don't get me wrong, but they might not have had the insight to know what Doflamingo would have wanted. And Monet seemed very, very sharp in that aspect. And that's something we'll get into with her personality. She's a very insightful woman. But she professes to Doflamingo that she knows that he will be king of the pirates, which is an amazing... You wouldn't think it, but it's not something that gets said very often for someone to profess that someone else is going to be king of the pirates, not including the Straw Hats, obviously. Well, sure, we get a lot of people saying that they're going to be king of the pirates. Blackbeard's a perfect example, Kid and Law. But we never really get their crews kind of reinforcing that statement. It hits a little bit heavier when it doesn't come from the person in question, when it comes from like an outside source. So she professes that he's going to be king of the pirates, and then she pushes the button. She goes through with it. She's expecting a poison gas going everywhere, but actually, she doesn't push it. Sorry, that was my bad there. She goes to push it, and while she's doing it, while she's expecting the sound effects and all, Law pulls a very deceptive move here, and basically he switched the hearts out. If you know, you know. I'm not going to explain it. And Caesar, with the intention of killing Smoker, stabs the heart in his possession, which happens to be Monet's. And before she can push it, she dies. I've never really heard anyone else speak about this, to be honest, but it's actually a very, very tragic scene. It even has it's Shakespearean-esque, because despite what she was trying to do was, incredibly bad, if we put ourselves in her position, she's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice here, and it completely backfires in a way that she never could have possibly contemplating it happening in. And Caesar, in his wrathful state, completely kills the woman that's probably been the most loyal to him, in quotation marks. It's got tragedy written all over it, and you feel sad for what happens. There's great music going on in the background in the anime as it's happening, and it's just a very, very touching scene. And you see Doflamingo question her, like Monet, because he's probably wondering where all the sound effects are. He hasn't heard any of this, so he gets worried. He knows she's not responding now, and he flees. He doesn't flee. He pursues them that are on the island. He goes to Punk Hazard. Now, we all know that Doflamingo went to Punk Hazard because he couldn't afford Caesar being captured. But I would like, if Caesar wasn't there, it wouldn't surprise me. Once again, this is just headcanon. When it is something that is just my own headcanon, I just like to specify it just in case anyone watching hasn't seen the scene and is assuming that this is what is actually happening. But in my headcanon, I like to think that even if Caesar wasn't there, Doflamingo would have flown over there to try take out who was the result of harming his or killing his family member. Because while he, this is my issue with Doflamingo. I can't touch on him and not go full force into it. It's his loyalty isn't so strong to his family where he's above sacrificing them. He is, but Oda somehow manages to strike this balance of just showing Doflamingo's care for them as well, which shouldn't be possible with the stuff that we know about Doflamingo. But I could just be naive, but I could definitely get the impression that Doflamingo would have flown over there just to avenge his subordinate. And that's pretty much how Monet's life ends. I know we've jumped way completely to the end of it. Usually I like to go through their life, everything that's happened in their life up until their death. But I wanted to touch on her death first, because one, it's like the biggest portion of the video, because it entangles everything with Doflamingo, their connection, their relationship, which unfortunately is basically her whole character in a sense. We're going to get into other aspects of it. She has a few cutesy moments. But yeah, I just thought I would start with that. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about their relationship. I thought it was quite a touching scene, her death. But let's get into her time at Punk Hazard. Now, because she's not a major character, we'll probably go through this a little bit quickly. The main portion of this video will be what we just spoke about, and the end when we discuss her powers. But her relationship with Caesar is very interesting and quite entertaining. She's very much... she likes seeing Caesar suffer. She's a bit of a sadist when it comes to him. When he's panicking of all the pirates invading, something that she doesn't tell him until they're already there, even though she knew beforehand. She's got a little smirk on her face, and she takes great enjoyment in seeing him shaken. She also, don't get me wrong here, Monet is, I don't want you guys to think of what I've been saying to her to represent her as a good character. She's a well-written character for the little time that we see her, but she is an evil character. I feel like a lot of people get kind of washed with the fact of Doflamingo's care and just the general care in the Don Quixote family, but these people are evil. I would, bad and evil is, there aren't many characters that are evil. Most characters just seem to be bad, but I would say Monet very much borders, if not outright, is an evil character. She takes enjoyment in giving little kids, well, they're not little, giant kids, but little kids, you get what I mean. She takes enjoyment in getting them addicted to a drug that will kill them. Now, despite any type of tragic backstory that Monet and her sister possess, have been through, God, I cannot speak in this video, but we're going to do it all in one cut, I promise you guys that. Despite her sad origin stories, it doesn't give you an excuse to do what she's doing here and take enjoyment in it. We know that she kind of takes enjoyment in it because after, I believe her name was Mocha, the big giant girl that we spend the most time with, after she escapes and is running with it, Monet basically says that Monet and Caesar have given these children a life of luxury where they've had no worries. So it's basically Monet's right to decide what happens to her. Just very, very, very callous. These aren't just kids that Monet and Caesar have captured and is like forcing this drug in. Monet acts as the mother figure to get them all to be loyal to her. She's completely betraying all the trust that these little kids have in her. As a parent myself, to abuse that level of power that she's had over the children here is just disgusting. It truly is horrible. Um, so yeah, like I said, she's very beautiful to look at. She has a tragic death. She has a few cutesy moments where when the Marines, the people of G5, are complimenting her, she's like blushing. She's got like a feather over her face and everything. She has some cute scenes and everything, but this is an evil character. Um, Ugh, damn it. I thought I could get it all in one go, but obviously not. I'm putting it on the excuse that I'm sick. Next video, we're definitely going to try to do it all in one go. But let's continue here. We're nearly done until we get into her powers and abilities. So, I kind of touched on it before, but Monet is very, very, not excited, very, very insightful. She's very sharp. She and like a demonstration of this is the Straw Hats wanted posters. Her and Caesar are like looking them over when they know they're invading, and Monet says not to underestimate them. These people will have gotten much, much stronger. So just being very kind of a lot of foresight there on her part that we don't often see with characters. Most people just see the wanted poster and make their assumptions on how strong the characters are going to be. But Monet is looking much further ahead of it. It makes the viewers understand of why she would make such a good spy. Why Doflamingo trusts her to infiltrate places, because she just has that sharpness and intuitiveness to know how to get things done and to kind of foresee the situations that are going to be happening. There's further demonstration of this when she encounters Luffy. She protects Caesar from one of Luffy's attacks and tells Caesar to go on while she handles Luffy. But she's not doing this out of like pride or arrogance or anything like that. She knows that she can't defeat Luffy. That is very refreshing. We don't see a lot of characters like that. She very much knows her own limitations. Once again, would be a very, very good trait for a spy. She'll know what she can get away with, when she needs to, take cover and disappear into the shadows type of thing, who to form these so-called relationships to further manipulate for her goals. And with that, with the thoughts that she was having for Luffy they can also be transferred to Zoro. When she has a fight with him, she knows that that she can't beat him, at least head on, and I'm going to go out a limb here and say she knows that Zoro won't attack a woman. We know that he cuts her cheek, but I do think she's right in the fact that Zoro most likely wouldn't be able to cut down a woman. Now you guys can fight me about that in the comments. I reckon it goes quite beautifully with his rivalry with Sanji. We've got Luffy for all the women beating. But I do reckon, even though it's like shown in the scene that Monet was overconfident and she kind of misread Zoro, that was more of a red herring type of thing, because I don't think she misread him at all. And we'll get into that in just a second. But it just goes to show how good she is at reading people. Now, let's get into... That's pretty much everything. Like I said, she's not a major character. Even though she's not a major character, I'm sure this video will still go half an hour. So let's just touch on her powers and abilities. We'll first mention, I usually save it to the end of it, but Haki. Doesn't have any Haki that we see. So we're not going to touch on that. She assumedly doesn't have it. And I suppose just quickly, before we go over her abilities, we'll just go over her feats real quick. It's not many, it's like 2 things. She, when she has her fight with Nami, Robin, and Chopper, she is able to control the flow of that fight with ease. maybe if all three of them teamed up and got serious, they'd be able to beat her. They most likely would, but at least in that scene, she was very much being able to control the fight. I reckon any three of them. Um, I, I say that the three of them would be able to take her on together because, like, none of them have haki, so none of them is going to be able to touch her. But with Nami's climb attack being able to generate heat, I'm sure Chopper and Robin could cause enough of a distraction and trap to be able to let Nami go to work on Monet. But if Monet could do something to get rid of the climb attack from Nami, the three of them wouldn't be able to do anything for her, and she'd be able to take that fight. She also has a fight with Tashigi, a marine captain, who I would say is probably stronger than her rank suggests. At least, I guess, narratively, I guess it's implied. Um, and she's helpless against Monet. She is the one that, spoiler alert, finishes Monet off in that battle. But that's with a major assist from Zoro. We see how powerless she is towards her in their fight that they have. And Tashigi does possess Haki. Um, but those were the main feats that I wanted to go over. I'll touch on another feat when I get into the specific ability of it, but those are the main ones we need to go over. So let's get into her powers and abilities. She's a harpy. She has harpy physiology. There we go. And so, she has her wings, she has her talon feet, and in those talons, she wields two ice picks, very ironically. Oda loves his puns and irony. And she uses them as blades that are capable enough to contend with Zoro's blades. Obviously, Zoro wasn't going all out, but they're better than your average riffraff blades. And that's pretty much her abilities that extend outside of her devil fruit. She's definitely a devil fruit, someone that relies on her devil fruit powers. But she does have other means to attack like that. Now, her devil fruit, Logia fruit. We don't get many of them in the series. Probably my personal favorite fruits, Logia fruits. Leave it down in the comments what you guys like. I imagine a lot of people these days, mythical Zoan fruits would probably be their favorites. But I still love just the classic Logia fruits. Elemental powers they are my favorite powers in fiction. And hers is quite creative. She has the Yuki no Mi, so the Snow fruit. It's a downgraded version of Aokiji's Chili fruit. We see this a few times in the series, like how Ace's Flame fruit is a downgrade to Akainu or Sakazuki's Magma fruit. But she's still able to wield it quite strongly and quite, what's the word I'm looking for? She's able to use it quite smartly compared to how other characters use their devil fruits. And we see this in the way where she has very much evasive abilities, offensive abilities, and defensive abilities. Has a lot of utilization of her abilities. The most impressive one we see is an ability called Snow Hut, where she creates a snow wall. Jack, that's not very impressive. It's a freaking snow wall. The snow wall's powerful enough to stop one of Luffy's attacks. This is a post-time skip Luffy, which is a pretty... I'm not going to say incredible feat. That's just overhyping it. But it's a strong feat, and she's able to layer these walls. She's able to make 10 of them, which very much slows Luffy down. It slows him down enough that Caesar's able to escape, and as the walls are being enclosed around him, she can then attack from the outside, because she can, and we'll find this out with her other abilities as well, she can go through any of her snow that she creates. She becomes intangible and can travel through it. It even boosts her speed and agility traveling through the snow. And after encasing him in these snow walls, she demonstrates another ability where she gets really close to him and gives him a hug. Kind of like how Aokiji does to Robin. But this is, like we said, a downgraded version of that. She encases just in case, she surrounds Luffy with her body temperature. She's incredibly cold. She's got snow coming off her, and it all of a sudden makes Luffy feel very sleepy and drowsy and causes him to kind of have hypothermia. Um, it also happens very quick, so it's not like she's just there rubbing up on Luffy. It happens quite quick, Luffy becoming drowsy and everything. It's very similar, I don't know if you guys watch it, Black Clover, in the exams to become the Royal Knight, says, I think she was on the Silver Eagles. She was able to use snow magic to cause drowsiness and sleepiness. Monet has a very similar ability here. And that's just all references to when you're extremely cold, being tired and stuff like that. Luffy's able to jolt her off of him by activating Conqueror's Haki, and that scares her and causes her to back off. And then Luffy grabs her, slams a hole into the floor, and he's done that to like destroy all the snow around him. Backfires on him a lot, and he falls down into the garbage chute down at the very bottom. And that, of course, is where he meets Momonosuke, and their relationship will there then go forward to show us Dressrosa, show us Zoe, and show us Wano. Momonosuke stays with Luffy for a very, very long time in real life, and we all have Monet to thank for that. But after she, not defeats, but after she handles Luffy, that's when she goes into the room where she has her confrontation with Robin, Nami, Chopper, and then Tashigi. And we see a few more abilities demonstrated here. She's able to cause a snowstorm to go all around the room that she's in and kind of encase everything in snow. It's a little bit like, it's not this obviously, but it's a little bit how like Akainu and Aokiji is able to cause the surroundings that they're actually currently standing on into ice and lava. Obviously she's not an awakened Logia fruit user, but she's able to do it like a poor man's version of it. And this is useful because it's kind of like a setup move. She then uses that snow to transform into snow, travel through it, and like we said, it boosts her speed and agility, and it allows her to attack her opponents from odd angles and from odd directions when they're not expecting it. It'd be a very difficult move to defend against if you didn't possess Observation Haki. We see her use an ability called Snow Rabbit, which is essentially snowballs. She fires them off, and unfortunately we don't see its capabilities because Tashigi dodges it. Tashigi needed to use what's the move? She needed to use Shave to get out of the way of it, so it's not a slow technique. And given the kind of damage that we did see of it, it probably would break bones of like weak marine characters and stuff like that. We see her have the ability to turn her lovely wings into snowblades and use them to fight off people like Zoro and Tashigi. And I'm pretty sure that just leaves us with her last ability. Kind of her namesake, and her most impressive ability. She turns into a giant snow woman monster, representing a Yukiona. And speaking of that, it's interesting. I feel like you can tell that Oda really liked this character. Not only has he given her a sick design, but he's based her off two creatures from mythology. Yukionas are obviously snow women from Japanese myths that lured men in and froze and killed them. Harpies pretty much do the same, but without all the snow, and they've got the more avian features that we see in Greek mythology. We know Oda loves touching on mythology. I love mythology. I've often thought about making a whole channel directed to mythology. But I do reckon that's cool, and kind of, to me at least, shows that Oda did quite care about this character. So she becomes this giant snow monster, and she bites down on Tashigi, grabs her shoulder, and it's causing ice and snow to spread along her body. Tashigi pulls off a very badass move. She grabs onto Monet, because she knows if she goes to back off, Monet's just going to take the massive chunk of her shoulder out. So she grabs onto her and won't let go. And this is where Zoro comes into play. Big Bad Daddy Zoro does a slicing attack and cuts Monet's cheek, and that causes Monet to back off Tashigi, and causes Monet to rethink every life decision she's ever made, because the man that she thought would never harm a woman has just done it. Now he's been able to do it through very superficial means, but this just goes to show how much perception really means and how impactful it is to a fight. Just look at the Darby character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in Part 3, the poker player. We see a similar thing happen there. Actually, two great scenes. Do me a favor, if you've watched JoJo's, gush about Darby and the poker battle down in the comments. I'm calling it a fight because it is a fight, and it's one of the best fights you'll see in anime. If you want JoJo's content, let me know down in the comments. So Zoro does that, Monet bucks off, and then Zoro confronts her and puts on this whole aura that he's going to cut her down. And he goes to do it, and he does do it. He does this one sword slash and completely cuts Monet in two. And, the audience is shocked, the Straw Hats are shocked. The Straw Hats are shocked. I don't actually know if Nami and Robin are still there. I think they did leave. A bit of an issue there. So they weren't shocked. I'm sure they would have been shocked, though, if they saw it. Tashigi, though, was super shocked. Because that's their whole relationship. Back in Logtown, her and Zoro had their fight, and Zoro demolished her, and Tashigi was furious that he wouldn't finish her off because she was a woman. And she's having all her life decisions freaking questioned as well here, because she's just seen him cut down Monet. I'm sure she was partly blushing, oh, he saved me. But if anyone's shipping Tashigi and Zoro, leave it down in the comments. But plot twist, Zoro doesn't hurt women, at least majorly. And Monet she realizes that she didn't use Haki, and she tries to reform and stuff, but through the sheer fear of it all, she's just crumbling away. And she eventually gets hold of herself, and she just realizes that Zoro literally just had her life in his hands. He could have completely wiped out her existence in that one go, but he chose not to. And, he sees the state that she's in and realizes that she's no threat, and he goes to leave. And Monet tries to attack him from behind with one of her snow picks, and that's when Tashigi steps in and cuts Monet down. Doesn't kill her, obviously, because we know how Monet's future ends, but it was quite a beautiful finish to the fight that we were witnessing. A very unique finish, actually. I don't think we've ever seen that in One Piece. Victory by fear, as not would be proud. But yes, that's how the fight ends, and that pretty much wraps up everything with her powers and abilities. We went over all her techniques, we went over all her fights. To finish the video off, I'm just going to talk about how strong I think she is overall, and I'm going to talk about it just in reference to... Oh, sorry. I do need to get off screen soon. I think I'm going to be getting very, very out of it. In reference to the other members of the Don Quixote family, what would you guys think? A whole video ranking them in terms of strength? I think that could be quite interesting. I might put that on the list of things to do for my content. But I would rank her... She's definitely stronger than most of them, I would say. Other than the executives, there would only be a few that I reckon would be able to contend with her. Just with the way she was able to handle the few Straw Hats that she came across, how she was able to handle Tashigi, how kind of, this is me going into headcanon again, the narrative importance that Doflamingo instills upon her. I feel like that kind of also tells us her strength. He's not going to send someone who's pitifully weak or on the weaker end of the family. So I won't, I am going to save it all just for one video of where I'd place her. For this video, I'd say mid to high tier in the Don Quixote family. Because if I go into exact positions, we're going to have to get into other characters and their abilities, and that's just going to make this video much longer than what it should be. So I'm going to stop talking in circles. I think I've got through this video pretty much without any tangents. They always do appear. They will appear in all my content, whether they're scripted or not. One Piece is just too fun to talk about it. Whenever I do talk about it, I just can't help but go off into other areas. But I've been Jack Cypher, sick Jack Cypher, so I really do apologize if I've been more over the place than usual. But that's everything to do with Monet. Let me know down in the comments if you've learnt anything. Let me know what you think about her. Just let's get the conversation going. And that's been all for right now, peeps. I've been Jack Cypher, signing out.